I'm recording. Now you can start.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm so excited to host this Pandemic Relief Summit. I brought together my two favorite healers. You guys know that know me, know I hate that word, but my two favorite other health coaches of sorts. Tonight we have Dr. Judith Swack. We're going to talk more about her in just a minute. And we also have Carrie Cater on Saturday, and I'm sandwiched in between tomorrow night. And I'm just so excited to have everybody on. All three of us do sessions on clients around the world, and we have heard you. That's what I want you guys to get out of this, is we have heard you. We hear what you're going through, what your fears are, what's going on in bodies, the stress that's created and what that's creating in the body. So we wanted to offer this free to you guys, to give you tools, not just for you to call us, but to give you tools to be able to work on these issues at home, because that's the most precious thing in this time frame, because we all pretty much around the world are at stay at home at this point. So without further ado, let me introduce tonight's guest. You guys might remember her. We did a curses seminar and series together, and she is one of my go-to people. When Lynn has issues, I call Dr. Judith. So Judith is a lot of things, and I love that. You know, she wears a lot of different hats. And one of the things that I love the most is that she's actually a biochemist and an immunologist. So she does all this fluffy woo-woo stuff now, but she actually is a scientist and a researcher. So she has a lot of data to back up what she does. She's an NLP practitioner, a certified hypnotherapist. She's a visionary and leader in the field of energy psychology, and she has her own business called Healing from the Body Level Up, hblu.org. And she's based out of the Massachusetts area in the United States. And so I'm so happy to have her here so that she can share some of her knowledge, because again, when I have a phobia come up or I have some trauma, we've cleared some traumas that I had no idea that my body even registered as a trauma. And for those of you that know me, in my world, the person can have a trauma that can be different than the body has a trauma. And sometimes they're not connected, and that one doesn't know that the other one has a trauma. So they have to be dealt with on both levels or on each level. So without further ado, Dr. Judith Swack.
Thank you, Lynn. I'm really thrilled to do this. I called up Lynn last week and I said, Lynn, a lot of my clients have COVID-19 related phobias, and I've had it. And even worse, it's what you said, they didn't realize they had it. So they're walking around, their internal system is feeling disrupted and uncomfortable, and they're living in a nightmare, and they don't realize they're having phobic reactions that need to be treated in 10 minutes a day just to keep themselves clean. And we've got to do something. Let's do a teleseminar. Let's do a webinar. And she's like, yes, I was just thinking the same thing. And I'm like, all right then, great minds think alike. So I have been collecting, those of you who know me, I love to collect lists of patterns. And I have a lovingly collected list of COVID-19 related phobias, which I am going to show you in a very nice PowerPoint presentation, no less. And as we show you what a phobia is and how it registers in the body, and we've named these phobias, as you recognize, oh yes, I have that. I didn't realize, yes, I have that. Start tracking it, because we're going to be collecting your phobias. You're going to be collecting them in your own body, and then we're going to be treating them and clearing them wholesale. Okay?
And remember too, that even if Judith reads some of these off, or you read it and you say, that doesn't really pertain, her technique is so easy, we're going to use it to clear it anyways, because you might be surprised how much energy is on it, even though you didn't even think you had it.
Right. That was what was so surprising to me. My trained colleagues had phobias COVID-19 related and weren't even consciously aware of it. My trained colleagues. If my trained colleagues didn't realize that they had it, and they did, well, how about everybody else? So I'm like, okay.
Part of this was, I went to Judith because I was having problems in the middle of the night. I kept being woke up in the middle of the night, and I'm like, I can't really get clear. Am I being attacked? What's happening? And we realized I was having panic attacks in my sleep. And it was like, okay, something has to be done. We've got to figure this out because this is waves of energy come across the world. At this point, I can tell when some new news flash goes on about COVID that's something traumatic, because I get hit with this wave of energy and I'm like, okay, what just happened now? And I'm sure a lot of you out there are feeling the same thing and maybe going, why all of a sudden am I depressed, or why am I scared? I mean, I didn't even do anything right now. But it's these waves of energy that go across the world, and this is going to help.
Okay, good. So now I'm going to put up my lovely PowerPoint presentation. Okay, share. And then from the beginning. All right, yay, COVID-19 related phobias and traumas. All right, the presenters. Okay, there's me. There's Lynn. You all know Lynn, famous medical intuitive. All right, I send my people to her when I can't find something. Here's the learning objectives of tonight's webinar. Identify and map the 2 flavors of phobias. I bet you didn't know that phobias come in 2 flavors. That's my original research. Everybody knows about fear phobias, but there's another flavor. Stay tuned. And we are going to use a meridian tapping technique for releasing and eliminating the phobia and the traumatic emotions, okay? That's what we're going to learn. So introduction to phobias. What is a phobia? A phobia is an exaggerated, irrational, emotional, and physical body reaction that is out of proportion with what is happening in reality. People with phobias find that they can't mentally control or permanently talk themselves out of this reaction. People try to talk themselves through it, but it doesn't make it go away. Phobias range in severity from mild, in other words, you feel like mildly anxious or uncomfortable, so that you don't even realize that you're having a phobic reaction, to severe, severe enough to send you into a panic or freeze you up completely. And here's the discomfort scale. 10 plus, I'm numb, I'm frozen, I feel nothing.
And how many of you, I want you to kind of think about your last week. I mean, I've seen my friends, I've seen clients where one minute they're numb, the next it's tolerable. And as she goes down this list, you'll be able to see where you've been in different states throughout your day. I mean, I can identify them even for myself at times.
Right. See, so even number 3, I feel a slight degree of fear, but I'm totally in control. It's still a phobia because it isn't gone. Number 2, I'm rather calm, quiet, relaxed with no fear, and I'm perfectly calm, totally relaxed, and what? It never bothered me to begin with, huh? How do people get phobias? This is important to know. A phobia is a conditioned response of the fight, flight, or freeze reflex. This is a physical body reflex that starts when a person experiences a traumatic shock, physical or emotional. Now, everybody I ask has heard of the fight or flight reflex, which means it's automatic and it's fight or flight. And when I ask people, what is the purpose of this reflex? They always say, oh, survival, physical survival. I'm like, yes, that's right. Bodies are partial to surviving. Now, at the time that the fight, flight, or freeze reflex fired off, in that scenario, anything that was in the environment around you can get associated with that memory. And later on, these associated triggers can activate the original reflex reactions, kind of like a body reflex, resulting in a phobic reaction, even when nothing dangerous or upsetting is actually occurring in the here and now. Depending on the circumstances, the shock may imprint as a simple phobia, or in more severe cases, a trauma. Now, how do people get phobias? By watching or listening to the news.
We call that an implant in my world. So you guys, anybody who's listened to me and have heard me talk about just being implanted by what somebody has said, you take it in and you buy it and you believe it and you store it somewhere in here, that's this.
And that's a good point. I would like to make the point that it is a rule that people believe what they feel, even if it isn't true. And the more strongly you feel something, the more you believe it, regardless that it's not true. So people often say at the conscious level, well, I know better. I know it's not true. But meanwhile, they're wrestling with the feeling. And the problem with having a feeling that's irrational is that it runs your behavior. So feelings run behavior, not thoughts. And the more strongly you feel about something, the more it controls your behavior. And then you end up wrestling, like your conscious mind ends up in conflict with the feeling part of you that's running this irrational pattern. Okay, so I call it conflict between the levels. And my levels are the conscious level, which is your rational mind, the unconscious level, which is a zoo in there. That's your emotional self and memory and imagination, which is a two-edged sword. And then there's the body level, which is all about survival, right? Bodies love to survive, and bodies love pleasure, and they like food and sex and dancing and being happy and having the right temperature outside, you know. Bodies like beaches, I'm just saying. Okay. And then there's the soul, and the soul is embodied in your physical body in order to do a soul mission, make a contribution so that, you know, when you die, it's like, I came, I saw, I contributed, I'm satisfied. And also to experience the fullness of life, you know, eat, dance, drink, be merry, have love, reproduce, you know, experience life, travel. So there are many things that can block you that run at the different levels, and phobias are one of the primary blocks that interfere with people functioning in full alignment. So you don't want conflict between the levels. So you watch or listen to the news. Your conscious mind goes, I think they're exaggerating, or it doesn't, I think they're, you know, manipulating, or, you know, the news, you never listen to the news because they always do this. But nonetheless, now you have a fear imprint in your body that you're wrestling with, and talking to yourself didn't take care of it. And how else do you get phobias? Trauma cells. How long have you been watching the news? What do you think headlines are? Trauma cells.
My favorite thing was, remember the whole O.J. Simpson thing where he was in the Bronco in LA or wherever in California, and people literally sat there and watched it for like an entire day? Trauma cells.
Oh yeah, that's right. And exaggerate the negative, of course. See above, trauma cells. And then look at what's going on with the COVID-19. Imply that if you encounter anyone with COVID-19, you will automatically, instantly, and definitely catch it. So now people are dirty. It's the new STD.
Yeah, I've been telling my clients it's really an interesting concept because it's like an STD, but you don't get the pleasure of the sex or any of that stuff. You know, you just are near somebody, you don't even know whether they have it or not, and somehow you end up with it. I mean, it's like the most sinister STD possible.
Yeah, except that not everybody who's exposed catches it, because there are people who are healthy and take their vitamins and never get sick because they take good care of themselves, right? There are people who have very good genetic immune systems, right? So it's a lie that if you expose yourself to somebody with it for 5 seconds, you will absolutely get it. You get the hysteria here? There's hysteria.
Well, and it will absolutely send you to the hospital or worse.
And kill you and kill everybody you know and love. My God. And you're going to see this because this is written in the phobias. Okay. So this is the news triggering phobias. And ignore the positive. For example, 99% of the people who catch this recover in 2 weeks. You know, I read People magazine, I admit it publicly. And so they had a big feature about how Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson ended up in Australia with COVID-19. And it was big headlines, and everybody's sending them condolences. Oh, I'm so sorry, you poor thing, this, that. Well, did anybody report that they recovered? So I had to Google search it because it didn't make headlines and it wasn't published in People magazine. Yes, they recovered and they flew back to LA where they are now living in their nice house. You can Google search it. They recovered. Doesn't make the news. So ignore the positive. But I'm happy to say that I saw the news for a couple minutes the other day while I was switching channels so I could watch American Idol. And there was a man in, I think it was Connecticut, who was the head of a hospital that treated people for COVID-19. And he got it. And he went home for 2 weeks and he recovered and came back to work. And to their credit, the news covered his return to work and how happy everybody was that he'd come back to work. And by the way, people are immune after they get this. There's this myth of, oh, maybe they're not immune. If you have a virus for 7 days, your immune system kicks in and you make antibodies. If you're sick for 7 days, you mount an immune response. By 14 days, you have antibodies for sure. Okay? So that's
And that is Judith, the immunologist.
That's from Ph.D. immunologist here. Trust me, I actually studied the immune response for 4 years at the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, for God's sake, and then in the New England Medical Center. Okay? So, ignore the positive. All right, here's the answer to that question. What two flavors do phobias come in? Fear and shame. Ah, now you think about it, you realize, oh yeah, shame. Because what's a phobia? A phobia, a phobic reaction, is an avoidance reaction. When somebody has a fear of something that's phobic, they avoid it. They avoid flying, they avoid elevators, they avoid public speaking, they avoid things, right? So you get the fear thing, but guess what? When you're ashamed of something, you avoid it too, right, Lynn?
Yep.
So you can have shame phobias. So how are they written? Fear phobias imply an outcome that is life-threatening and end in some form of death, eternal torment, or rejection. Okay? For example, I'm afraid to speak in front of a large group of people I don't know because they will disagree with what I'm saying and kill me.
So Judith, all of this on Facebook, I see it on Facebook more than the news because I don't listen to a whole lot of the news, but there's so much shaming going on that if they see somebody, you know, you're supposed to be shelter in place, or there's some states like Florida, just tonight at midnight is finally going to be shelter in place, right? We've been able to maneuver around the state as much as we want up to this point. And the amount of shaming that has gone on with people like, you know, you're so stupid because you aren't being safe. And it's one thing if you don't want to be safe, but you're going to kill all these other people. So is that reading into this shame phobia?
Oh, absolutely. And I have exactly that phobia 3 slides down.
Okay.
You're psychic. Okay. And here's another one. I'm afraid to feel angry because I will kill someone. And then sometimes people add, and be sent to hell or sent to outer darkness, a place worse than hell. So I'm teaching your conscious minds to recognize that phobias, which are body level survival reactions, don't think like conscious minds, which are rational. These are extreme, one sentence daytime television soap opera scripts of doom. Got it?
Got it.
Shame phobias. Shame phobias involve character assassination. In other words, there is something fundamentally wrong with me that I'm ashamed to admit. For example, I'm ashamed to speak in front of a large group of people I don't know because I'll forget what I'm saying and prove that I'm a stupid idiot. So there you go. There's the insult. I'm ashamed to feel angry because it means I'm evil. See, there's an insult.
So Judith, just to make sure everybody understands, these are all phobias that were written in a session that you had with a client, right? So these are actual phobias that came up.
These are actual literal phobias that came out of real people and muscle tested accurate. These are live examples of real phobias. Exactly. Now, a fear and shame hybrid phobia example, because you can combine them. I'm ashamed and afraid to speak in front of a large group of people I don't know because I'll forget what I'm saying, look foolish and stupid, there's the insult, and be rejected, there's the fear ending. All right, you see that? Now, phobias are extreme statements. Why am I harping on this? Because you have to get the exact extreme languaging or they don't clear. So understand that phobias are extreme, black and white statements of the very worst things that the client's unconscious mind and body imagined at the time of the initial shock. There are no maybes, woulds, coulds, or mights. Phobias are statements of certainty of doom. There's no pulling any punches. They're very electric. They're in your nervous system. So in order to clear a phobia, it is necessary to use accurate wording and get the extreme languaging. All right, then, let's look at some COVID-19 specific related phobias. Okay, here's a fear and shame hybrid. Look at that. I'm afraid and ashamed to catch COVID-19 because it will kill my business and everybody I love, and it's proof that I am a stupid, careless murderer. That came out of a real person and muscle tested accurate. And guess what? This came out of more than one real people.
Well, and isn't it true that people that are on this call or that are listening to this, they may have the beginning of that and it may be proof of something else. So look for that in yourself.
Right. The next one. See my lovingly collected list. Number 2, I'm afraid and ashamed that I'm not taking care of myself, and therefore I will get sick and kill myself and everybody I love. See, there's a theme here. And it's proof that I'm a health fraud and a loser and a failure. Right, this came out of a colleague of mine who is a healthcare professional. Okay? Mm-hmm. I'm afraid and ashamed that the tickle in my chest. Okay, here's the problem. Now, with this floating around in the collective, any little thing, any little symptom, oh my God, it's COVID-19. So I'm afraid and ashamed that the tickle in my chest, the sore throat, the allergy symptoms, because it's allergy season now, right? And people are coughing and sneezing because they have allergies. And mild cold symptoms. You know, people do still catch colds, I'm just saying. And there is a regular flu going around too, just saying.
Well, and my friends and I were laughing. I mean, it's really not that funny, but we were laughing because in the deep South, we had a big cold snap yesterday. Rain came through, we had this cold snap. So we went from 92 degrees to 72 yesterday. And we went, oh, good Lord, here comes, everybody's going to get a cold now. And they're all going to be panicked that they're getting COVID.
That's exactly the problem. So all these symptoms, no matter what they are COVID-19. And therefore, okay, here's the fear section because the fear section came first. I'm going to die, or this is the death part, or develop COPD or other chronic symptoms and suffer for the rest of my life. So this is an eternal torment. And here's the insult, and it's proof that I'm a stupid, lazy idiot. Right? How could I be so stupid as to, you know, get sick at all in any way? Okay, I have more. You can tell I was having fun with this. All right. Now, plain shame phobia. I'm ashamed that I'm a silent carrier of COVID-19. And it's proof that I'm a dirty, contaminated typhoid Mary. Because this is a double bind. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. If you're healthy and you don't have symptoms, it doesn't count. You could be a carrier.
And since there's not enough testing for everybody, you won't know.
Right, and therefore, phobia. I'm afraid and ashamed that I'm a silent carrier of COVID-19, so here's a fear and shame hybrid. And I will infect people and kill them, so that's the death part of the fear section. And it's proof that I'm a selfish, self-absorbed murderer. Okay, this is the insult. So you see the form here. I'm afraid and ashamed. Oh, you know what? People are suffering badly from isolation. Mm-hmm. People are suffering badly from the social distancing remedy. People are starting to ask, is the is the cure worse than the disease?
I heard an interview with the governor of California, and I loved what he had to say. He said, we really need to change that from social distancing to physical distancing because it's actually freaking people out. Because truly, we're not supposed to be socially distancing. We're supposed to do what we're doing here, where we're still socializing. We're still communicating with people. We're still having that conversation. It's just a physical distancing is what we're supposed to be doing. I thought it was interesting that he had enough intuitiveness to realize that that was really starting to weigh on people's heads.
Boy, that's really good, because the word social distancing really puts the shame energy into the field, doesn't it?
Big time.
So I'm afraid that and ashamed that I'm going to lose people, and therefore I'll be alone forever and die alone. And it's proof that I am a complete, total, utter, unlovable loser. Right? So, people who are extroverts need to be around people. And they're suffering. Now I have people in my practice who are introverts, and they're like, oh, good, I can stay home and not have to deal with people.
I've had a few of those too.
Right. But, then there's the people who need people, and this was one of them. And it's a problem. And then I have parents whose kids are home from school and not getting any schooling. And guess what? The kids are going over to their friends' houses and having sleepovers and play dates because guess what? They're going stir crazy in their houses. They're kids. And they're not supposed to do it, and they are. And everybody's going crazy. So, what else do we have on our treat list? Oh, yes. Paranoia has been coming out. It's really been coming out of the woodwork. I'm afraid that COVID-19 is being used as a bioweapon, and therefore the whole human race gets murdered. These are accurate and muscle tested from real people. I'm afraid of being controlled by the government, and therefore I'm a prisoner. I'm afraid that this whole fear campaign is a plot to install 5G towers while everyone is inside, and that will cause mass extinction.
I have one to add. In Florida, worse than trying to find toilet paper, you can't buy a gun. All the gun stores are completely sold out because they feel the phobia is that basically this is going to be like The Walking Dead or something, or the Wild Wild West, and you better have your gun because people are coming for your toilet paper and your food that you have in your fridge, and you better be ready for them.
Well, I think I have that one. Next, I'm afraid to stay in Western Hemisphere because we're all going to die. Oh, here it is. I'm afraid people will go crazy and become violent and loot and riot and destroy my property and kill me. All right, then. And people are believing this and buying guns. Oh, that's really good. I'm afraid people become desperate and rob me. Yep. You called it, Lynn. Good job. So guess what? How do we clear these things? Because by now, everybody should be gagging. Right?
Yeah, the energy's pretty thick.
Yeah. Well, we're going to name the phobia precisely. Guess what? We already wrote them out for you. You don't even have to put any effort into it. They're written. You may have like minor variations, but you get the theme. Then you're going to locate the phobic emotion in your body. Where do you feel these things? Then we're going to use a technique, Natural Bio-Destressing, and we're going to teach you that technique. So the technique to stay sane, that'd be good. We're going to activate your calming reflex to clear phobias. So, and Natural Bio-Destressing activates the calming reflex and clear the phobia by neutralizing the fight, flight, or freeze reaction and deactivating the triggering stimuli. And I have a very nice diagram. And by the way, remember, when a person clears a phobia, he's now normally cautious as opposed to phobic. Remember, normal caution, common sense. Remember, you don't have to be frightened to be cautious. All right, isn't this a pretty picture? Look at this.
This is someone who already recovered.
Yes. So here we go. This is the fight, flight, or freeze reflex. This is a body. You can see his internal organs. Isn't that cool? All right, the amygdala, which is in your brain, you got two of them, one on each side. your brain right there. It responds to perceived danger. It picks up all your senses because the bodies are always scanning for danger because that's how they survive. And it responds to a perceived danger, and it sends a signal to the hippocampus right there in the middle of the brain, which stimulates the hypothalamus right there to stimulate the pituitary gland, which is just underneath it right there. And then what happens? The pituitary gland sends ACTH directly down the spinal cord and through the bloodstream. ACTH is adrenocorticotropic hormone. And then when the ACTH gets to your adrenal glands, which are sitting on top of your kidneys right there, see those little kidneys? There's your adrenal glands. It stimulates them to release adrenaline. Everybody knows what adrenaline is. And cortisol, which is like cortisone, steroids, and endorphins, which is your runner high opiates, your body's natural opiates. Okay? So then what happens when all these chemicals get released? Well, adrenaline stimulates muscle contraction, so rapid heartbeat, extra strength. And look, ACTH stimulates mast cell degranulation, causing allergies. So guess what? Allergies are caused by traumatic experiences, which is why you can use tapping to clear them. And then cortisol, remember cortisol? It suppresses the immune system. So here's the problem. You get traumatized every day by watching the news. You don't realize that you have a phobia that keeps getting triggered off. And every time it does, it throws cortisol into your system and it suppresses your immune system. So ironically, just when you need to be the most healthy and resistant, you're suppressing your immune system from trauma and phobias. It really is annoying. And then the blood, of course, withdraws from the periphery. So you get cold, you turn white, you look ashen, your bladder and bowels discharge when you're under threat. And the endorphins cause numbness so that you go numb. So you saw the 10 plus. Now, what is a person to do when your immune system and your whole body system is triggered into fight or flight, chronic fight or flight, which is not good for you? In other words, stress is not good for you. Well, thank God we have an answer for you. For every on system in the body, there's an off system. So we have natural stress relieving mechanisms in our bodies and techniques that we unconsciously use all the time to neutralize the fight or flight reflex. So what do we naturally do when we're stressed? We do this, right? We grab our heads. We chew on our fingers. We grab our chest. We hug ourselves and fold our arms, right? We do this all the time. Why? Because it actually triggers your nerve endings to your calming reflex. It actually calms you down to do this. And when I show this to people, they all like to tell me their favorite spot. Lynn, what is your favorite spot? When you're stressed, what do you reach for right away?
I think I'm that guy down in the corner that's like.
Right. You do go like that. Perfect. Okay. So here's what happens when you activate your calming reflex. This is called feedback regulation to keep you in homeostasis. Here's what happens. When the concentration of cortisol and endorphins rise to a high enough level, it shuts off the fight or flight reflex at the level of the hypothalamus and pituitary. This is the calming reflex. So cortisol and endorphins circulate up and turn this off right there. Okay, so energy psychology, that's the field that my work is from. My healing methodology is called Healing from the Body Level Up, HBLU. And I have a menu of 52 techniques, but I use a lot of energy psychology techniques because mostly people come in with phobias and traumas, because that's the most common problem that people experience in life. So, not surprisingly, all the places that we stimulate to calm ourselves correspond to the ends of acupuncture meridians. And acupuncture has been shown to stimulate the release of cortisol and endorphins. And you remember that cortisol and endorphins activate the calming reflex and turn off the fight or flight reaction. Ha! So this group of techniques are now generally called meridian tapping techniques, and the field is called energy psychology. So the natural bio-destressing technique is basically you're going to intentionally stimulate these nerve endings to activate your calming reflex. You're going to focus in on the fight or flight reaction, the phobia. You're going to locate where it is in your body, and then on purpose, you are going to turn it off. How about that? Talking yourself out of it doesn't work. Yelling at yourself out of it doesn't work. Being annoyed and frustrated and angry with yourself doesn't work. Tapping works. Okay? So now what I'm going to do is have everybody focus on what's frightening or upsetting you and locate the feeling in your body and intentionally tap all your natural stress relief points to activate the calming reflex and deactivate the triggering stimuli. So Lynn and I are going to do this together. Now, Lynn, do you think I should review the phobias again so people can sort of tune into their favorites?
I think they probably are highly aware right now of.
All right, then let us do this. Okay, everybody focus in on that lovingly collected list of phobias and feel where is the angst in your body.
You know, for me, it always seems to go to my nervous system. I call it, I feel like I'm plugged in. Like I literally am like, you know, a refrigerator or something that's been plugged in and turned on. And I've been prepping for this call for the last day. And right now I'm just like, bzzz, I'm humming away.
Perfect. Because you probably have more than one of these phobias, right? The average, my clients are coming with an average of 3. Just saying, on any given day. All right, Lynn, let's do this together. Everybody focus in on that feeling. And you're going to start by tapping the karate chop point. This is where you wring your hands when you're upset. We're going to tap here. So everybody tap along with us and say, I deeply and profoundly love, accept, and respect myself.
Love, respect, and
accept myself. Even though I have these phobias.
Even though I have these phobias.
I deeply and profoundly love, accept, and respect myself.
Love, respect, and accept myself.
Even though I have these phobias.
Even though I have these phobias.
I deeply and profoundly love, accept, and respect myself.
Love, respect, and accept myself.
Even though I have these phobias.
Even though I have these phobias.
All right, now pay attention because we're going to be tapping all of the 14 meridians, but your particular imprints will only be stored in maybe 3 or 4 points. So as you're tapping, pay attention to where the negative energy is draining and releasing and stay on that point longer. If you tap a point and there's no activity, it's not stored there. All right, start at the top of the head and release. Focus in on your feelings. All right, when that feels done, move to the eyebrows by the bridge of the nose and tap the whole eye socket. Okay, if that feels done, tap under the nose.
If you feel a pain or a sensitivity in any of these places, does that signify anything?
Yeah, that it's stored there. Yep, so stay on it longer. I yawn when I feel people releasing. So this was a good.
I was just going to ask, like there was a part where it was kind of like I could feel the energy just kind of shift. So
Yeah.
that means, okay, we're good with that point.
Yeah. Okay, good. Yep, that's good. All right. Next point is under the mouth. And then the next point is under the collarbone. Right now, it's a little tender spot there. Here's the bone, and there's a little indentation just under the bone itself that you can feel it's tender, and you tap there, and I do both sides. All right, I'm yawning again. All right, now when that feels done, drop your hands a couple inches and massage the chest wall. Massage. These are called the lymphatic points, and they are tender. So, you know, be gentle with your body. Yeah, we're getting some releasing here. Okay, when that feels done, you're going to do the armpit points. Now, the armpit points are on the rib cage, just about even with your boobs. Poke your fingers in there. It's on the bone and it hurts. It's tender. You can do it like this, or you can do one side at a time, or you can do chicken wings, but basically tap that point. So remember, it's tender. Did you find it?
Yeah, is that a kidney point?
I think it's spleen.
And it was one of them.
Yeah. All right, so when that feels done, let's do the bottom of the rib cage. Now, the bottom of the rib cage is your bottom rib straight down from your boobs, and it's tender. And those of you who have underwires, you know, you're gonna have to like lift them up and get that point. Just saying.
So it's not under the ribs, it's under the breasts.
It is on the bottom rib itself.
On the bottom rib, okay.
On the very bottom rib, straight down from the nipples.
I got it.
Right? And that's it's a liver point.
Interesting. One side is way more tender than the other.
Well, is it your right side is more tender than the left?
No, it's actually the opposite.
Okay, well, do both sides. All right, when that feels done, tap the finger points, starting with the outside edge of the thumb, by the fingernail, right? By the nail. And then you're going to work your way down the hand. You're going to tap the outside edge of every finger by the nail.
Oh, it's supposed to be on this side of the hand? The outside? Or
the inside. Right here.
Mm-hmm.
Here.
Mm-hmm.
Here. Here. Then you do the other hand. Right? Here.
That is so interesting that everything on the left side is more tender on me.
That's interesting.
Like even my left thumb is tender, which is weird.
Yes, well, you know, it's left brain, right brain. And I'll speak to that. Remind me to say something when we're done tapping. Okay, now when you've done all the fingers, we're going to tap the back of the hand in the indentation in the back of your hand between your pinky and your ring finger, right there. Now, I usually put it down on my desk or my lap, but I'm going to demonstrate it here. So now we're going to rebalance your brain. So eyes closed. Eyes open. Eyes down to one side. Eyes down to the other side. Eyes round and round smoothly in one direction, roll them. Eyes round and round in the other direction, smoothly, roll them. All right, hum a tune out loud. Keep tapping. All right, count to 40 by twos. 4 out loud. 6, 8,
4, 6, 8.
16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40, and hum again. Okay, good. Now back to the top of the head. Tune in to wherever you were feeling that phobia or those phobias, and just finish releasing it. Let it drain out. I think of this as releasing static electricity to ground. I usually recommend people do it without their shoes on so that they get a full release there.
So should we have both feet on the ground?
Yes, or at least one so that you can, ground it. All right, when that feels done, let's do the eye socket. All right, start with the eyebrows by the bridge of the nose, and let's do the whole eye socket. And when that feels done, tap under the nose. And tap under the mouth. And tap under the collarbone. And massage the chest wall. Oh, I yawned on that one this time. Okay, then the armpit points. And then bottom of the rib cage, right? And then all the finger points, starting with the outside edge of the thumb again. Let's work the hands. Whoa, another point. People are getting some really good releases. I can feel it. Okay, and then finish with the karate chop.
You have other types of releases, like I'm burping a bunch of stuff up.
Yes, I find that people, if they're doing big releases, they either burp or yawn. It's usually one or the other. So for me, I yawn. There are other people who burp.
I got a combo. I'm a hybrid.
Okay. So in this case, right. Yes, but that's a sign that you released something big energy. All right, everybody take a drink of water. Let the energy settle. All right, take a deep breath. Okay, Lynn, my dear, how does your poor little nervous system feel now?
It is way better. It feels like it's still draining.
Mm-hmm.
That might be because in the beginning I didn't have my feet on the floor.
Okay.
until that tail end. So
Mhm.
it feels like the swamp is still continuing to drain, but it's like 1,000% better.
Okay, good. Take another drink of water. Now I'm going to tell you it can take 3 to 5 minutes to finish draining after you do a round, particularly if you are doing 3 phobias at once.
Mhm.
So take another deep breath. Let the energy settle. Okay. All right, now every time you clear some negative energy pattern, your reality shifts in a better way and you learn something. So everybody grab a pen and write down what you learned from doing the healing.
So would it help people that when we're done, Judith, since we're just going through this one time, that if they realized that they had several phobias on that list, or they have their own list that they've come up with now that you've gone through all of this, to literally sit here and go through that process with each one of them individually?
Yes, that's why we're recording this.
So remember, if you go to, I know Judith has it on her website, hblu.org, and also on thebodychannel.com, where we have the announcement for this. Underneath Judith's section, it has her PDF that shows the natural bio-distressing figures of where to tap and everything that we just went through. So you can print that off for yourself or pull it up on your computer, and you can use that to go through that whole process. It's not like you guys had to remember this from what we just did.
Plus, you can play this again and tap along with us.
There you go.
Right? Who better than to tap along with than us? Right? So, plus, here's the thing. We did phobias tonight. And phobias, they're pretty common, they're pretty straightforward, and I already languaged them for you. But people also have trauma, and trauma is a layered structure that is more complex. And I recommend that if you're traumatized, that you work with an HBLU trained practitioner. So I have people trained, I'm proud to say, all over the United States who can actually help you and do private sessions to help treat your particular trauma or your particular situation, and you can get professional help. And in order to do that, we're going to have our information posted in another slide, but basically it's info@hblu.org and info@lynnwaldrop.com. Okay. And so basically you can call, you can get a free 15-minute consult with me, and I can figure out, who to best put you with to help you with your stuff that's more complex than simple phobias, okay? So there's always backup. All right, Lynn, how do you feel now?
Way better. Yeah, it's almost done.
Okay. All right, well, while it's settling, write a few learnings. I'll write some learnings too, because I got 2 learnings myself as I tapped.
This is always the part I resist the most. Anytime I do work with Judith, she'll be like, how many learnings did you get? And okay, I got 5 of them. And then I'm like, oh, I got 5. I got
Now, learnings are just stream of consciousness. It's automatic writing. From inside, it pops out. All right, let me see. I got 2 learnings. What did I learn? That's really beautiful what came out. Well, and nice.
So Judith, did you say at the very beginning that basically doing this natural de-stress,
Natural Bio-Destressing. Mm-hmm.
that it resets the nervous system?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And those of you who are live, if you want to type in some of your learnings to share on the chat, that'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
So I still need to go back and do something, because I still have, like, as I'm doing these learnings, I have something gearing back up on my adrenals.
Okay.
I can feel something trying to literally, it's like a grinder starting to try to grind and turn my nervous system back up again.
So I would do a second round.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we did one round for the video, but again, if you have more than one phobia, you may have to do more than one round. But okay, take an extra 10 minutes and do another round. And I treat myself first thing in the morning, and I treat myself at night before I go to bed, because if I get triggered by something and don't realize it consciously, I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and can't get back to sleep. And then I know I missed something. And then I have to get up and sneak off to the bathroom so I don't wake up my husband, and tap myself a round of something that I missed during the day. So spare yourself the middle of the night tapping and treat yourself before you go to bed. Just saying.
So Susan asked a great question on here. So she says, when I'm talking and arguing with myself, am I dealing with a phobia?
Yes.
And Kachi also said that for some reason she's still resistant to EFT, but that it also definitely worked. So kind of a little bit of a conundrum. So is it possible that you can have, because I do get this question quite a bit, like, what happens if they don't see a change or whatever when they're working with a particular practitioner like you or I? And sometimes, you know, there's some program, I call them programs in there, that have to do with being resistant to either healing or whatever. So can that also be a phobia? Or can they have a phobia of EFT or something like that that gets in the way?
Yeah, that's more complex than what I wanted to talk about tonight. But there are a lot of different patterns that people can have that sabotage them. I have a menu of something like 400 different patterns that can sabotage people. And tonight I just wanted to focus on the phobia problem that's rampant in the culture right now. But yes, there are 400 other patterns, anything from dysfunctional family system patterns to religious brainwashing. For example, I have people who have original sin brainwashing, and they believe that they have to suffer to go to heaven. So they don't want to clear anything because it would lower their suffering content, right? So
some people have written in and said that, you know, like Marisol said, my throat discomfort is gone and my headache's gone. And then there's other people that have written in, like Sarah, that said, well, I have kind of a headache now. So what would cause that? So is that
I think it's because you need a second round.
Second round, that's what I thought.
Because remember the 10 plus, I'm numb.
Mm-hmm.
What happens is if you're 10 plus and you're numb and you treat, you come into the scale and you start to feel things. You mistakenly think you're getting worse because now you're feeling something, except you're not getting worse, you're getting better because at least you're on the scale now.
Gotcha.
So for those people who tapped and started to feel worse, you're on the scale. Congratulations and mazel tov. Do another round. Do 3 rounds. Do 4 rounds in a night. Right? I showed you 10 different phobias.
And we would love to hear from you guys over email. Again, info@hblu.org or info@thebodychannel.com or info@lynnwaldrop.com. We'd love to hear, you know, tomorrow. How are you doing tomorrow? So tonight, do another round when we're done here, so that you get to the point where you feel good, or work on some of the other phobias that are coming up for you. Judith, can we hang somewhere, not necessarily your PowerPoint, but kind of a list of some of these common ones so that they get the word, they may want to use the wording from them?
Yeah, I think we can send out the lovingly collected list of phobias.
And so that might spur people, you know, when they see how these are kind of written. And since you said that sometimes it really matters in terms of what the verbiage is.
Yes. Yes.
But then that way they can see that and they can continue doing the tapping. But we want to hear back from you. We want to hear how this is working for you, you know, and what else you need from us. We're here for the long
We
run.
created phobias tonight. People can have traumas. Traumas are layered. One round of tapping on the shock from a trauma doesn't clear a whole trauma.
And Suzanne asked, do we need to mention specific phobias while we're tapping? That was the point.
That was the point.
You go back and you have to have specific phobia, and can you put that back up so that they can see that one more time, where it was you have to recognize the specific phobia, you have to have the wording correctly, feel where it's at in your body.
Yes.
And remember, this information in terms of how to do the tapping and everything is in a PDF that's already up on my site as well as hers. Let's at least put this one in with that PDF so that they know what exactly they have to have to do the tapping.
Okay.
So you need to name it. In other words, like how she had it written out, you have to pretty much know what that is.
Yes, you have to name it. You have to name it, and you have to get the extreme exaggerated ending or it doesn't clear. This is why I wrote it out for you already.
Okay. So we'll make sure that tomorrow we have this up on both her site and mine.
Okay. You see the doom and gloom, the absolute definition and certainty of doom, and then the extreme insults that feel like a slap in the face. Yes, you need to get the edge. You need to get the extreme ending on these things or they don't clear. That's why I wrote them for you, just to give you an idea how to write them.
And I'm still feeling so many different shifts of energy, not just for myself, but for people out there. So it's really lovely. I'm very grateful for you, Judith, and I'm grateful that you were willing to come on and work with everybody and give them a tool that they can use. And I'll be the first to admit where I'm, here's me, I do medical intuitive work, but to me, I always go, Judith, some of the stuff you do is just crazy pants. Like, it just seems crazy. Like, how does doing this anything? You know what I'm saying?
I'm a Ph.D. biochemist and immunologist, and she thinks I'm nuts. She does medical intuition and reads people from a distance and reads their bodies and heals them from a distance in the air. Right. And she's calling me nuts. Yeah, right.
So we have a fun little relationship with that part where it's like, who's crazier?
Yeah.
I just am so grateful because I have worked with her so often on so many different things, and it has just been so incredibly helpful that I just wanted to share her with my community and everybody that I could think of. So thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome. Listen, I'm just going to get the slide down here so we can have the don't you love these pictures of bodies though?
I do.
Yeah. It turns on my scientific self, right? Okay, here we go. So any questions, contact Judith at hblu.org, info@lynnwaldrop.com. And remember, I have trained practitioners all over the United States. If you have more in-depth traumas, not such simple phobias, you have other patterns that are being triggered because of this, call in and we'll get you to the right person to help you. Okay?
And remember, tomorrow night, mine is not going to be on Zoom, although I have to say I'm kind of enjoying this whole video thing. I finally, if you're from my community, you know that I haven't had good internet, and I finally did get it. So I'll be able to do things like this from now on. But I'm not starting it tomorrow. So tomorrow, just like instant teleseminar, just like you guys get on every other event with me. That's where we're going to be the next 2 nights. So tomorrow night, I'll be working with you guys. I have some updates that I want to do to the COVID-19 MP3 that I recorded, some things I want to add to it, and other things that I'm going to be sharing with you as well that are also things that you can do at home. So it'll be kind of a combo of all of that. And then on Saturday night, I will have Carrie Cater, who's an acupuncturist and Neurolink practitioner, and she does some really amazing things. And I was really guided that Judith had to go first. I was in the middle, and then she was going to kind of wrap it all up, because if you guys will get rid of some of the phobias, then before tomorrow night, it'll allow me to do more and help you tomorrow night. And then if you do some of the things that we talk about tomorrow night, then Carrie will really be able to clean everything up and kind of finalize everything for your bodies on Saturday night. So you can go to my website, again, thebodychannel.com, and there'll be a place on there that tells you exactly how to dial in for the next 2 nights. It'll be at 7 o'clock Eastern time, just like it was tonight. So I hope to see you guys all there. I see a lot of people still writing in and saying, hey, where do I get this handout? For right now, the picture that tells you where to tap is up on thebodychannel.com. When you go and you see Judith's section about,
and it's on hblu.org, and the invitation that we sent you by email has the link.
It does have it as well.
When you signed up for this webinar, the link to the handout is right underneath the sign up.
But tomorrow we will add the verbiage of a lot of these phobias and kind of the steps of how you have to identify it. You have to feel where it's at in your body. So we'll have that up for you guys tomorrow as well. Okay. Oh, and Karen reminded me, what's the left brain, right brain thing when I said I felt everything?
Yes, left brain, right brain. So here's the thing. Your left brain is your rational, logical brain, and your right brain is your emotional brain. And your right brain runs your left hand, and your left brain is run by whatever. So this is my right brain. It's run by my left hand, right? Left hand.
And that's the emotional.
My left brain runs my right hand. So when you have a traumatic shock, what happens is your emotional brain flares up and your rational brain gets suppressed, which is why you can't think and feel at the same time. You just react, and you have exaggerated emotions. So you were feeling more energy move when you were tapping your left hand, because you were tapping into your right brain, which is where all the emotional crap was stored.
Yeah.
Cute, huh?
Very nice. Very nice.
All right, so I'm going to end the meeting, and we'll see you tomorrow night.
Thank you, everybody. Stay safe.